Building a brand new home is like a dream come true. You get everything you want, but it can become a nightmare if you don't ask the right questions up front and then things go wrong during construction. So in this video, we're going to cover some of the big questions you should ask every production builder before you decide who to work with, and especially before you sign anything or commit to anything. Because not all builders are equal. They really vary a lot in terms of how they handle things, their quality of work, and just the kind of home you get when you work with some of these builders.
I just want to reiterate, don't sign that dotted line until you've really done your homework on just the overall process. You really want to become educated before you just walk into a builder, sit down, and pick out your lot. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Welcome to the video. I'm Jacob.
I'm Mindy.
So first up, question number 1 is, what display and spec homes does the builder have that you can tour? This is a really great way to just see examples of the kind of product they build, get a sense of their quality of work, how does the house feel and look on the inside,
what their aesthetic is, what their finishes look like, what their style is. And it's great to go view the different floor plans they may offer, especially
Absolutely.
within a certain community if you're looking at a certain community.
Yep. So with the display home, it's usually going to have a lot of their fancy upgrades that they want to advertise. They're going to be well appointed, well furnished.
One thing to definitely keep in mind when you walk into a display, that is well above what they say the base price is. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get a home decked out like that. You're going to be paying a good chunk of money for that display home.
When you're in a display home, ask them roughly what that would cost. Sometimes they'll give you an exact number. Sometimes they'll leave it kind of vague. But the display home is going to be much pricier than the base price that's advertised. But if you're just trying to get a sense of, like, if I wanted a home like this.
Right. With all the bells and whistles, this is what it's going to cost me.
So take a look at display homes. Also, see if you can go inside some spec homes they have, or market homes that are finished, but they're maybe not furnished or, staged. And ask your builder if they have any homes under construction, like maybe spec homes that are being built that you can go tour specifically so you can pay attention to the job site.
Yeah, you can see if their contractors are cleaning up every night or if they're leaving a huge mess. It kind of just speaks to what kind of contractors that particular builder uses.
If you see, trash, wrappers, beer cans all over the place, that's a red flag you want to pay attention to. Hopefully you're not seeing
beer cans. Yeah. That means they're drinking on the job. And hopefully that's not the case for any of our local builders. But it is something to pay attention to.
Second question to ask your builder is if you can use your own title company and lender.
Yes, there are certain, I think they all will offer their own lender, and they'll have different promotions and incentives for you to use their lender, but they cannot legally force you to use their lender. And I'm not saying that their lenders aren't good lenders. They have good quality lenders. But there's a lot of lenders out there, and you may be using your particular lender for a certain program they're offering you. So definitely keep that in mind, and that's a really good question to ask when you're having those introductory conversations.
Yeah, there's nothing against the builder's lender. It's just if you have a lender that you really like or a specific loan program that they have that you want to go with, just make sure that they are going to make it easy for you to use your own lender.
And I personally don't think I've ever had an issue with the builder when I've had clients build using their own lender. The other thing is they have a certain title company that they like to close with. I will say I don't really usually have any objections to using their title company because their title company is very familiar with their product, their process, and you're not going to have any issues typically at closing when you typically get your keys a little bit quicker if you use their title company. But by all means, if you have a particular title person that you've worked with on several occasions, you should be able to still retain that right to use your own title company.
Absolutely. And if you're evaluating using the builder's lender versus your lender, builder's title company versus yours, make sure to read the fine print and pay attention to the numbers, because although sometimes there might be incentives and promotions advertised to use the builder's lender and the builder's title company, there might be extra costs and fees, or their fees might simply be higher. Even if they're discounted, the price might still be higher to close with them.
Might be the same or lower with your own lender.
Right, than to use your own lender, your own title company, or, with our lender and title partners. Yeah, the rates can be different. Question number 3 is going to be, what is the construction deposit?
A lot of times you're going to see that the deposit's going to be 10%. I think there might be certain price points in certain builders where you might get lucky and be at that 5% mark. Most builders currently, I think, are around that 10% down payment. And that 10% down payment usually comes within a week of signing your paperwork. And sometimes they'll allow you to pay 5% then, and then 5% right before you actually break ground. So that's another important question. Can you break it into 2 payments, or does it have to be 10% like at the time of signing? It's usually 10% of the base price, because a lot of times you're not getting that final design studio number until you're weeks within the process. And each builder is different. Sometimes they require like a $5,000 lot hold. They're all a little bit different. So you really want to know what the expectation is. Okay, to hold my lot, I need to have $5,000. But if I'm not locked in, that is going to be refundable. But once I sign the contract, then, and that lot hold will go towards your 10% or whatever percentage it is that a builder has, that should fall into that bucket. The other thing is that 10% comes from your checking account. Most lenders, if you're getting a loan for the home, you're not going to get those funds until the home is built and closed. So you really have to have that saved up for a new construction.
Yep.
It's a little bit different than just putting some money in escrow when you're buying an already built house.
That's a really good point, especially if you are looking at using a loan product like a VA loan, an FHA loan, or a conventional loan with a lower down payment amount. Because if you're looking to put down sometimes 0%, 3.5%, or 5% on the house, you are still going to need to put down that 10% construction deposit, or whatever their percentage is, and then you get that money credited back to you at closing if your down payment is lower than that. But your money is going to be locked up for a few months during the construction period until you take out your 30-year fixed loan on the house. Next question is going to be, could the price increase during construction? And if so, how do you handle that?
Most of the time you sign the contract before you've even hit design studio. A lot of builders will go ahead and give you like a budget in your head where you think you're going to want to be at designs. So it's already kind of in the price. It's very easy to go well beyond what you've budgeted for design studio, because you start realizing, oh, wait a minute, that granite or quartz isn't a level A, that's a level D, and that's going to cost me another $5,000. There's lots of little things, or even like a toilet per se. Some builders, you don't get an adult height toilet, so that might be a small upgrade. So the upgrades, you're going to be upgrading a lot. You get very basic in that base price. So typically another time that you might see a price increase is if you are fully in process, your home is being built, and you decided, wait a minute, this closet feels way too small. I need to expand this closet. And they have to come in and remove the wood, whatever. And sometimes you won't be allowed to make those types of changes, but sometimes you can. Those are called change orders. And sometimes they will allow you to make those change orders, but there's always going to be a cost. The cost of what they're doing. They've already had plans made, so they have to go back and have an architect revise things. So there is a reason that there is a charge for change orders. So you really want to be thoughtful and really think about everything before you actually start breaking ground, because change orders can add up, and it is very cumbersome, and it's very detailed.
And then speaking of upgrades, the next question you want to ask your builder is, how much do people typically spend on upgrades versus base price with you?
A lot of people, I think, probably go in thinking, oh, I'll spend $40,000, $50,000 and I'm going to have this very custom home. Well, I would say if you really want that custom look and you're going to have everything done to where you're never going to want to change flooring or upgrade countertops, you're probably looking at closer to that, with some builders, $100,000, if not more. You get a very basic house with that base price. Not that that's bad, but most people want their home to look like the spec home that they walked into. And that comes with a price tag.
It really depends on the builder you're working with, because some builders have way more features that are standard to their floor plans. Some builders will nickel and dime you for everything you want to add, because everything is an upgrade. I would say, expect that you might be spending an extra 25 to 50% of the base price on upgrades.
I think that's a good number.
So if
I think
base
at least
price,
25%.
Yeah, at least 25%. So like if the base price is $400,000, expect an extra, $100,000, maybe $200,000 on upgrades if you really want to go all out. And then if you're working in a higher price range, I mean, sometimes you can go 50% to 100% of the base price if you double the base price.
If you want that custom home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one thing though, where you really do want to put your money, you can always change out countertops. You can always change out flooring, those types of things. But where you want to spend your money, the architecture of the home and lighting, because it's a lot harder to add a fan or a can lights after the fact. I think that's where you really want to first put your money, because again, like you can add the character later. If you're trying to build a home on a budget, there's certain things you can go back in year 1, 2, 3, 4 as you live in the home and upgrade, that aren't the structural things. If you want a vaulted ceiling, if you like natural light, now's the time to add as many windows as possible, that sort of thing, because that really gets costly to change. And, sometimes you can't change things
Absolutely.
once they're built, but you can change the look of a cabinet or your flooring, those types of things very easily. Yeah,
Yep.
It's going to cost some money, but not like cutting out, you don't have enough natural light, you want to add a new window. That's going to be pretty costly.
There are a lot of questions to ask when you're working with a builder. These are just a couple of the big questions we guide our clients through. Make sure you grab our 100-point new construction checklist. The link for that will be down below. It's going to cover all of the main questions you should be asking before you pick a builder, as you're choosing a lot, as you're choosing a floor plan, and it'll also cover some of the most important upgrades you want to think about.
It's a really good guide.
Taller ceilings, third car garage, taller windows, garage extensions, some of those structural upgrades you want to spend your money on first that cannot be changed later on. Moving on, the next question is going to be what kind of lot restrictions are on a certain lot. So if you're looking at different lots in a subdivision, not all of those lots are equal. And a lot of times people don't realize that you cannot build some floor plans on all the available lots.
For instance, if you know that you are building a 3-car garage, that's like a must. And that's one of the reasons you're building your dream home. The first thing you want to ask is what lots will hold a 3-car. And obviously those lots are going to be a little bit bigger. They probably have a higher premium to them, but you need to know before you go out and actually start like standing on different lots and seeing which ones you want. You need to know which ones are capable of holding that 3-car garage.
That's a really good point. Also think about setback requirements, because if you want to do an upgrade like add a garage extension or extend the front porch or back porch or patio, especially if you're on a smaller lot, you want to make sure that the setbacks can accommodate those upgrades. Also think about, what kind of features are on your lot. So if you want a cul-de-sac lot, if you want a walkout lot, if you want a lot that backs to trees or to ponds, think about that. But also think about features like some lots will have manholes or drains or utility boxes on the lot.
You also want to pay attention to like the grade. Like, are you at the bottom of the hill? How are they going to ensure that your house isn't going to be the house that has all the water issues?
Yep.
You want to discuss like what they're doing to mitigate that, so that 5 years from now, when all the homes are built and all of a sudden you have a swamp of a backyard, you want to try and avoid that.
Absolutely. Next question to talk to the builder is going to be, what is their process for quality control? And this is something that every builder is going to have a different person in charge. They're going to have a different way of doing things, but you want to ask who is in charge of quality control, how many people are going to inspect the home at different points, and just who is the person making sure the home that's being built is the one that you've designed.
Yeah, like how often they're going to be on site. You really would like to have a superintendent that's going to be stopping by your property every day and talking to the subs to make sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to. And I think that kind of leads us into how often can you go by your home while it's being built? And most builders will allow you to go to your property anytime after 3. They just don't want you there during the day to interfere with the subs that are working, which is completely understandable. And it can be a little more dangerous. So they don't want you really on site while the subs are there. But I would walk your property once a week, at least every couple of weeks, if not, just to get your eyes on it. It's also a great time as the process gets further along to take pictures of where the plumbing's at. 10, 12 years down the road, you might have a leak and you're like, oh, where's that? Where's it coming from? You can go back to your pictures and be like, I bet it just gives you kind of that time to see behind the walls, because you don't have that with a home that's already been built.
And it's also a great time, if you're going to your site pretty often, take pictures. Also ask questions. If you're not sure, like, why does this look that way? What is this? What is that doing there? Just to gain clarity for your own sake of, what is being built, and making sure that, again, the home that's being built is the one that you want. It's what you paid for. It's what you designed, just to make sure that everything is adding up correctly. The site visits, we cannot stress enough how important those are, especially, like with our clients who are building out of state, we work with the builders, all the time to go to those site visits. If you are not physically in St. Louis to visit your site, we're here to do that as your agents. We try to go and take
video and pictures and keep the clients in the loop.
Drone
on
footage,
what's going on.
just to make sure that you see exactly what is going on, because building from out of state is scary. It's intimidating. That is a little bit of a different challenge than, when you live right down the street from your new home.
And you do have certain actual walkthroughs with the builder before different steps can be taken. Once the electric's in, you'll do a final electric walk to make sure you don't want to add any additional electric before they start drywall.
Yep.
And, there are county guidelines per county that they have so many inspections, and they have their inspectors come out, and once the plumbing's done, there's a checklist that builders do have to go. The goal is to get final occupancy, and there's different inspections that lead up to that final occupancy.
Yep. Next question you want to talk to your builder about is, what are the warranties like, and how do you handle warranties? So every builder is going to be a little bit different, but overall, what you're mostly going to see is that most builders offer a 1-year builder warranty on the home.
And that kind of covers, it's kind of an overall warranty. So if anything major is going to go wrong with the home, it tends to happen within that first year. You're going to catch it. And most builders will cover it floor to ceiling. That's one nice thing about building. You kind of have that insurance policy, because you don't get that when you buy an already built home. You don't get a full warranty on the home. And again, most issues will happen within that first year. So certain things though, they will, and each builder is slightly different when they want to do that close to the end walkthrough with you, but they'll come in and they'll fix nail pops. If there's a huge, something that got missed, like a paint touch up, they'll typically do that. If there's a cabinet door that isn't working correctly, those types of things, they kind of like you to wait and do it all at the end. So then they'll have one final checklist that they'll come back and do. Now, if it's something happened with plumbing or water or electric, those are emergency ticket items, and they typically want you to put that in immediately. And obviously you're going to want to prevent any further damage to the home.
Outside of the builder's 1-year warranty, you're going to have separate warranties for appliances and systems, refrigerator, dishwasher, HVAC. Those are going to be warranted usually by the company that made them.
And you will, at the time of closing, you should get a packet. If I'm the agent, I always put it all in a binder so that they have everything in one spot. Like their drawings, their appliance warranties, because you are responsible for, if you get extra coverage on your microwave, you got to mail off the little thing that's in there. So you kind of want to research that and make sure you've done everything you can to ensure that you have the best warranty on what you can.
Finally, you're usually going to have a 10-year warranty for the foundation of the home.
We all know we live in an area that we have foundation issues, and honestly, it may not happen until you're 20, but typically most major foundation issues are going to happen within the first 10 years. And I will say, new construction, they have drain tile, they have sump pumps. That really helps with the integrity of that foundation, because it helps prevent the water from damaging it or causing more movement. So that's very helpful, but you will sometimes get cracks, and typically just epoxying the crack will take care of any issue. And they will typically include coming out and doing that. If there's a more major problem, you're probably going to see it in the first, I would say, 5 years. But you never know what causes the ground to shift.
And then the last question, this is actually a question the builder is going to ask you when you first start the process, is, do you have a realtor representing you?
And it's very important that if you do want to have an agent representing you, you need to tell them immediately yes. And let's fill out the paperwork. A lot of times, if we are working with you and we know that you're going to go to a certain builder, sometimes they have forms online that we can go ahead and pre-fill out before you even walk in the door. Others are fine with just, you say yes, they're going to hand you, be like, who's your agent? We'll get this marked down. I will say most builders are definitely willing to work with agents. They don't have an issue with that, and nor should they. And that cost does not change your base price. It does not change your pricing to have a realtor represent you versus not. It is already included in the price. You're not going to get a price reduction because you're not working with an agent. And somebody that's working with an agent is not going to get charged more to cover our commission.
Yep, absolutely.
Or our compensation.
And really, I mean, the biggest benefit we add to the whole process is that we are here to represent you. Any agent you talk to in the builder's community or display home, they work for the builder first and foremost, and
Correct.
we are here to represent you. I mean, go over all of the questions that we have in our new construction checklist to make sure that you are getting answers to everything. You're not going to get blindsided by anything. We are here to help you negotiate upgrades and really filter through the noise, because there's a lot that's going to get thrown at you in the design center, and help you decide like where do you want to spend your money.
Like where to use your money for the most amount of resale down the road. Like when you go to sell the home, what is going to be the key features that you really do need to spend your money on?
Yeah.
Versus what I can do later. I can finish that basement after construction. We'll help walk you through all of that. That's what we're here for.
Really helping you decide, where you're going to get the most ROI on your investment now when it's time to resale. And again, like we mentioned before, if you do not physically live here, or you do, but you're very busy with work and, family and everything, we are here to visit the site for you, to take pictures, drone footage, videos for you, and really make sure that, we are staying on top of things and making sure that things are going according to the timeline, and that, the house that you designed is what's being built. Because, builders are not perfect. Sometimes things get missed or things get overlooked, and we're here to step in if and when that happens.
I love design, and sometimes people are so overwhelmed with the design studio. We can be a big help of, this is just a trend. You want to stay away from that, or this is going to be something that is going to last 10 years down the road. So I love the design aspect. I think most agents do. You will have someone in most design centers helping you also, but sometimes it's nice to have that extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
And, what do you think of this? You can bounce those types of questions. We love being part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the highlights of the job. We love it. If you would like help building new construction around St. Louis, please get in touch. It's what we're here for. Call us, text us, email us. We do a lot of new construction. So, we have connections with all the big builders here. We've been through it a lot. So get in touch if we can help you at all.
Yeah, if we can answer any questions, we'd love to help.
Outside of that, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.